Okay, hey, hi, hello, everyone. Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. I hope you are doing well. Today we have a really exciting video that I am going to react to. The one, the only, one of the GOATs, Yassine Bey, aka Mos Def, is on Talib Kweli's People's Party podcast, apparently talking about my thoughts about their recent record, No Fear of Time. The responses from what I've caught so far, I haven't watched the whole thing, are not happy. They're not positive because I wasn't super crazy about the record myself. As much reverence as I have, though, for Black Star, obviously the debut, Talib's early stuff, Mos Def, Black on Both Sides. I mean, that man has multiple great records under his belt. I hope for more. Fingers crossed. But yeah. Some thoughts are given on my thoughts here. I wanted to go over them, respond to them, very sincerely, mind you, because regardless of how much I agree or disagree with what Yassine is about to say about my opinions here, I do hold his artistry in very high regard, very, very big respect for the guy. I have no intention of coming through here and like being a little silly and being a little troll boy and like, posting a vegan cookie recipe or anything like that. I'm gonna be a good boy and respond as respectfully as possible because I have a lot of respect for the man, because he is the man. So let's give this a watch. Let's hear it out and see what these guys are saying about what I'm saying.
Let me say this.
Please do.
Anthony Fontana, it's fine. You don't have to like what I do. You said it was rushed. How you gonna rush something that you waited 25 years to do? I don't understand that.
Okay, well, pause. First off, I do like you and what you do, much of what you do. Let's get that cleared up. And yes, it did take a long time to get this sophomore album, this follow-up, but what I was insinuating there with the rush job was that this project didn't seem to have been worked on for as long as the debut. Just because we waited 25 years does not mean that project was being worked on for the majority or even the totality of that 25 years. I would have a very hard time believing that the past 2 decades plus has been spent working on that project, especially since there have been numerous projects that you and Talib have respectively made in that time, like solo wise. So even if there is a large gap in time between projects, you can still at one point decide to make a project and then sort of rush through the process of making it and then drop it. That's still a possibility. That's not like a mutually exclusive thing.
I don't understand your shirts.
What don't you understand about my shirts? Is he talking about the flannels? Is he talking about that? I mean, I didn't give the record a red flannel. What shirt was I wearing? I like a lot of my shirts. I like your black top. It's very minimal. I like the short sleeve on it. Looks like a sweatshirt of some sort.
What I found most interesting is that he did not even mention the sound of the universe that was in it.
We're getting quite metaphysical here. I tend to, when I am reviewing things and commenting on things, I tend to be more material in a lot of what I'm trying to observe. Even music is quite an immaterial thing. I tend to sort of focus on whatever kind of are the raw elements going into a given thing and the quality of the performance and what I can sort of glean as far as content being baked into the material that I'm reviewing. That's not to say that, what he's bringing up isn't significant and can't be a part of the recipe. It's certainly a part of the sauce. As a critic, it's a bit more difficult of a thing to grasp, especially given that, when you're talking about something that is so vague and unknowable in a way, you can sort of get led on some pretty wild misinterpretations based on what the artist is doing and actually trying to do. That's sort of a difficult thing to know, even for someone who is a fan of the record. He's kind of talking about things that would be difficult to have an entire understanding and grasp of unless you're like literally one of the souls there in the creation process of the music. Or at least that's what I'm kind of getting from his criticism that he's throwing out here.
But when people don't like it based on some expectations that they have or some sort of cultural biases.
I understand like sometimes that expectations for a record or for an artist can suck and maybe can seem unfair and maybe can even seem daunting, especially when you're talking about a record that has been by all means deemed and is very much worthy of the title of a classic. It's a fucking classic. The debut Black Star record is a classic and is amazing. Yeah, it can be a little daunting to follow up such an album. I don't know, given the talent that I've heard from you and Talib over the years, I personally feel, this is my opinion, but I personally feel that my level of expectations for the song structure, for the lyrical content, for the mixing, for the production quality, given your track records, I think my expectations were set at a level that was easily achievable for U2.
If we adhere to those standards, something that we need about ourselves gets destroyed or compromised, and I'm not willing to give that up for nothing. No,
That's right.
No, I actually love a lot of what he said here, and this is actually why I appreciate Yassine. I appreciate Mos as an artist, and I have for years. That's why I have, completely respected the way that he's kind of bowed out of the limelight in the way that he did and kind of slowed things down as far as like, his career in the media and his career in music and so on and so forth. He did actually reach a point where, it seemed like continuing to push forward might involve some kind of like compromising of his artistic integrity. Even if you came up to me and said, hey, we're going to make an album just for you. What do you want it to sound like? I wouldn't even know what to fucking tell you. I wouldn't even fucking know what to tell you because I don't come into these reviews with like a set criteria and I'm just like, okay, it's got to be this and it's got to be this. It's got to be this. I'm just merely taking in whatever I hear and I'm just kind of reacting to it in a gut sense. At the end of the day, the last thing I would want you or anyone to do is to feel like they have to act fake or water themselves down in some way to make me happy because fuck me. Obviously, I'll still put my opinion out there for those who are actually interested, but I know that for a vast majority of people, they're not going to want to know. They're not going to care. And that's fine. Not everybody, as Talib was saying earlier, not everything is for everybody. Not everything has to be for everybody.
Pitchfork wrote a review about an album I did with Knife Wonder back in the day. The review came out the day after the album came out. And in the review, they had certain facts wrong. Right. So they didn't have the right names of the producers. And it's clearly because you're rushing to get it out for the clicks and the views. I wrote a review of their review.
And hey, look, that's valid and that's cool and that's genuinely funny. I mean, if it doesn't come across as like super bitter or anything like that, because obviously you could write a review in response to a review in a million different ways. But if an artist or anybody wants to like creatively take it upon themselves to parody the situation of, getting a bad review on my album and so on and so forth, that shit can be funny. Troll the critics back. That's totally fine. Go ahead and do it. Like I embrace that. I welcome that.
Everybody's in love with their opinion these days, and they've made a cottage industry out of having an opinion.
I mean, you're literally on a podcast where you give opinions.
Like Erica said, I'm an artist. I'm sensitive about my my thing, but I'm not
cool.
like brittle. You know what I'm saying? I've had harsher things said about me by more qualified parties. People who critique it, just from kind of like pop entertainment standards, are missing some very important nuances about what this is and what it really means.
People can debate all day about what right or legitimacy or place I have on just kind of giving my opinion on a hip hop record. That debate's being had all the time, and that's fine. You can go ahead and have that debate. I can tell you one thing. I'm not merely coming at this as like, some shallow, totally clueless poptimist. In addition to that, I'm not trying to tell you that I'm an authority on anything other than what I like and what I don't. All I can say is that at the end of the day, I'm a fan, and I'm a fan who saw the beauty and saw the significance and saw the depth and saw the detail of your greatest works and recognized that without having to be engrossed in anything other than just the music itself. I did. I heard that shit. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. I don't necessarily come from the same place this guy does. I haven't lived the same experience this guy does, but these records are incredible. They're special. They mean something. Sure, while it may come from a very specific place, in my opinion, there's also a universal beauty and profundity to it that makes me want to highlight it and makes me want to listen to it more, and makes me hold it in very high regard. I would like to think I had enough mind to recognize that in your early works at a point where I was like even more disconnected from the world that it came from when I was much younger. Now that I'm older and have more experience and I'm sort of seeking, a similar level of depth and profundity and so on and so forth and detail in maybe new work that you're putting out, I'm just not hearing it, or at least in this instance, I did not hear it. That's not to sort of count out the possibility of that in any future releases. I would love to hear another Black Star record down the road at some point. I think it would be cool if they release something sooner rather than later. Again, I'm not swearing or proposing to be an authority on anything other than my own thoughts, and just a music fan who's heard a lot of records, has a lot of passion, and, in this instance has a lot of passion for the stuff you've come out with in the past, which, ranks as some of my favorite, hip hop and just generally music, not even just to sort of couch it in any one lane, just music, some of my favorite music in general.
To quote my brother Kamal Fareed, rap is not pop. If you call it that,
calling that, then stop.
Yeah, and I have no expectations of it being pop or being like pop. In fact, I mean, I'm on record multiple times, sort of tearing apart really cheesy and cheap pop and rap and hip hop fusions that don't really have any other purpose than trying to climb the charts as high as possible and just be, a piece of fast food, appeal to the lowest common denominator. And that's never, ever an expectation. Never, not even close to an expectation that I would have for a Black Star record. Those are my thoughts. Those are my thoughts on being called out, not just by one goat, two goats, honestly, two of the goats. I appreciate their thoughts. I appreciate their insight. I appreciate their opinions. Big respect. Thank you for watching. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Yassine Bey, getting called out, vegan cookies, forever.